now, are we recording? Let me check. Yes, start recording now. I'm just going to share with you my screen and then we can start studying. So as you can see, Unit 4 is all about safeguarding, protection and welfare of babies and young children in early years setting. So do we know what safeguarding? Any one of you have heard about safeguarding? What is it? What is safeguarding? Obviously, safeguarding is protecting the child. Yeah, so they're like protecting him from abuse, from neglect. Anything could happen to any vulnerable person, if it is elderly person or a very young child. Why? Because they are vulnerable, so they are more able to be neglected or abused. They are vulnerable to these things, so we have to protect them. So if we check what's the question number 1 in this unit, it says outline the legal requirement and guidance on safeguarding security, confidentiality of information sharing, and promoting the welfare of babies and young children. So if we go here, exactly one on page 68, you find this question, which is 1.1, outline the legal requirement and guidance on safeguarding security, confidentiality of information sharing, and promoting the welfare of babies and young children. So what are the legal requirements? So first one is early years foundation stage, EYEs. The EYEs set out what all early years setting must do in order to meet the standards for the learning, development, and care of children from birth to 5 years. Why? Because in the nursery, we deal with the children from birth to 5 years. Yeah. So this legal requirement, which is early years foundation stage, EYEs, it sets out the early years setting what the early years setting must do in order to meet the standard for the learning, development, and care for children between birth and 5 years. Yeah? Yeah. So what is it for you? When you answer the question, you can, first of all, you can put in bullet points what are the legal requirements and just talk about it, like little bit of description about each one of them. That would be great. So for example, here, for the first legal requirement, you just put EYE foundation stage EYEs, and then the second one, which is Children Act 1998, 2004. That's a legal requirement. The 1989 Children Act set out the responsibility for parents and all those who work with children and young people. Local authorities must consider children's wishes when thinking about service to provide to them. So we always have to consider the children's wishes when we provide service for them. Okay, so according to this act is, which is Children Act 1989 to 2004, according to this act, it said the responsibility of parents for all those who work in the children, with the children. So for the parents and for the people who work in a care setting, they all have to follow the wishes of the children when we provide service for them. Okay? Okay. So this is the first one. So there are two sections in this law. which is Section 17, states that service must be put in place by local authority to safeguard and promote the welfare of the children. And also Section 47 states that the local authority has the duty to investigate instances where they have reasonable cause to suspect that the child is suffering suffering from any harm, from any abuse, from any neglect. So according to Section 47, that the council should always straight away investigate any reports of child abuse or child neglect. Yeah. And also, it's based on the principle of the Children Act 1989 to 2004 sets the legal requirement for safeguarding. So this law has set the legal requirement for safeguarding. So for us, when we talk about the EYE's foundation stage, we say that there are so many legal requirements set the way how the nurseries should run and should take care of the children in regards to safeguarding these kids. Their age is between birth to 5 years old. So first one is the Children Act 1989 to 2004. This one said the responsibility for the nurseries and for the local authorities that they must consider the children wishes when they provide service for them. So that's the first one. And also we have working together to safeguard children. It's a guide to interagency working to safeguard and promote the welfare of children, 2018. So this is the full name of the legal requirement. Just put it as it is, even that's it doesn't consider as copying and pasting. Normally, I would say to you, don't copy and paste, but here, when you have a legal requirement, just put it as it is. So for this one, it says working together to safeguard children, a guide to interagency working to safeguard and promote the welfare of the children, 2018. This guidance is for all professionals who are working in early years and schools, as well as the local authority and the organizations and agencies who work with the children. So this is a full guidance for everyone who works with the children, like local authorities, schools, nurseries, any agency who work with children. It is based on the principle of the Children Act 1989. So it is based on the same legal requirement for the previous one. And it states that all the professionals must do to put children at the center of the system and keep them safe. So here it says that all the professionals should put the children at the center of the system and keep them safe at all times. The third one we have, this is as well, again, what is it highlighted in purple? Always just put it as it is, because it's a legal requirement. It's not copying and pasting. So for this one, you can put it as it is, which is Counter-Terrorism and Security Act 2015, prevent duty and fundamental British values, 2015. This act outlined how organization can prevent children and young people from being radicalized or drawn into terrorism act. Under this act, the schools and the organization have legal duty to prevent young children of being drawn into terrorism. Okay, so it's from the name. When you read it, it says Counter-Terrorism and Security Act 2015, Prevent Duty and Fundamental British Values Act 2015. They, like, from reading this, you understand it's all about terrorism. So this act outlines how organization should work together to prevent that the children being drawn to be radicalized and to be terrorists. Okay, so all the children, all the schools, all the nurseries, or everyone who works with young people should be following this act. It's very important. And also we have general data protection regulation. It's very important. We always read about General Data Protection Act. So this one, again, you have to put it in, and then it's all about the confidentiality of the information, which earlier setting hold on babies and children. So it's always we should keep the information for the babies and children we work with always confidential, and their parents as well. Always keep the information confidential. Don't pass it to another organization or to another people. However, in safeguarding situation, professionals are able to share information. So let us say the child being abused. If you don't pass this information, that the child will be even more harmed. It's going to be your responsibility to pass this information on, even though there is Data Protection Act. Okay? So it's very important to share the information with another organization to protect the child. And there is also government publications. There are also many government publications which support the safeguarding of the children by, it may be by those who working in early years and also in school, and this will be, it's helpful for us, very helpful. So always we need to read the government publication if we have access to them. Why? Because they provide us with information sharing, advice, safeguarding, protection, what we can do if we're worried about the child being abused. Also, it keeps the children safe in education. So this is very important as well. So we can always follow the government publication. So if I was going to answer this question, which is here, it says, first question, outline the legal requirement and guidance on safeguarding, security, and confidentiality of information being shared and promote. Not quite sure what happened. Can you see my screen, or you can't?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So to answer this question, I'm just going to go back to the book and do it one by one. So first of all, I'm going to put bullet points. Yes. So for number 1, number 2, number 3, and then I will talk a little bit about each one of these legal requirements. So in the early years foundation stage, all the nurseries, they will have to follow certain regulations to keep the children safe and secure in regards to safeguarding. So what are they? Number 1, Children Act 1989, 2004. And then number 2 is is working together to safeguard children, a guide to interagency working to safeguard and promote the welfare of the children, 2018. Number 3, I have Counter-Terrorism and Security Act 2015, Prevent Duty and Fundamental British Values 2015. And then the other one, General Data Protection Act Regulation 2018. And the last one is government publication. So I put them all these bullet points, and then I'll start talking about one by one, very little. Like when I put number 1, which is Children Act 1989 to 2004, I would say that this act set out the responsibility of parents for all those who and all the people who work with children and young people. So what the responsibility is set by the local authority, that we all should consider the children wishes in whatever service we provide to them. Okay, and then second one I'm going to put, which is working together to safeguard children and guidance to interagency working to safeguard and promote the welfare of children, 2018. I'm going to talk about it a little bit just to show that I understand it. This guidance is for all professionals who work in child care in the early years education. What does this mean? This means that it is based on the first act, which is the Children Act 1989. It states that all the professionals must put the children at the center of all their activities, of all the system, that to keep them safe and safe from abuse, from neglect. Okay, and then the third one, which is Counter-Terrorism and Security Act 2015, Prevent Duty Fundamental British Value 2015. When I put this one, I need a little bit of description underneath it, which is this act, what is all about. It outline how organization can prevent children from being and young people from being radicalized. Is very important. This law is very important, this act, or not only radicalized, or also being drawn to the terrorism, which is very dangerous. Okay, so although it's unlikely when children are in their early years to be drawn into terrorism, but they should but for us as a practitioner, we should always be aware what's the legal requirements, what our duty, as radicalization could affect the whole families, not only the child. So, and it's wider wider communities, not only the families. So that's why we should be aware of this act. And also, in regards to Data Protection Act, obviously, according to this act, we are not allowed to share the children or their family information because it's highly confidential. However, in terms of safeguarding, when we need to protect the children from any harm or abuse or neglect, if we find any sign of this, we should report it immediately to protect the children and their well-being. And the last one, which is the government publication, as we said, why they are important. For every child care setting, the government publication are vital, very, very important. Why? Because they always provide up-to-date information about about safeguarding, and also how we can share information, give us advice, and also would give us advice about if you're worried in terms of children abuse, and how can you report it, and also will give us a good information about how to keep the children safe in education. So this is for number one. Are we clear about this question or how to answer it? Please, if you're not, we can repeat it again. Yes, ladies?
Okay.
Yeah, you okay? Excellent. So number two, identify policies and procedures. So this one is all about the legal requirement. Second one is it is highlighting the policy and procedure related to safeguarding, child protection, and online safety. So what do we know about the policies and procedure relating to safeguarding, child protection, and online safety? Do we know anything about these? Obviously, in any nursery, you will have policies and procedure. Do they always should be like every year they should update them, at least? Yeah? Yeah, so should be regularly updated. And also they should teach them to the staff. Whenever they have staff training, they should educate them about the policy and procedure. So what are these policies we have? First policy is safeguarding, which is child protection policy, safeguarding policy. Number two, acceptable use policy.
Yeah.
It's all about the social media and the computer. Number three, whistleblowing policy. Number four, equality policy, which we studied already, which is equality is giving all the children equal opportunities. Then there is confidentiality policy, there is data protection policy, there is information sharing policy, and health and safety policy.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So to answer this question, you just say there are so many policies in my nursery, and my nursery is always updating these policies regularly. And also, whenever we have staff training, we sometimes talk about these policies in detail, so it educates us about the policy. And these policies are, number one, safeguarding. Number two, acceptable use policy is all about the social media, the computer. And number three, whistleblowing policy. Number four, equality policy. Number five, confidentiality policy. Number six, data protection policy. Number seven, information sharing policy. And number eight, health and safety. Yes. So this is full answer to the question. Are we clear about this question, or do you want me to repeat it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Now, if we go to question number 1.3, explain the roles and responsibilities in early years practitioner in relation to the following procedures. So, was there reporting, dealing with, sorry, let me just enlarge it because I don't know if everyone can see that. Reporting, dealing with disclosure. So what is our responsibilities? Like each one of you, what's your responsibility regarding reporting and dealing with disclosure?
Information sharing.
Okay.
Use of technology.
Okay, excellent.
And confidentiality.
Yes, very good. Yes, good. This is your responsibility. Can you remember? Can you think about some few more.
Safeguarding and security,
Mhm.
protection and promotion the welfare of babies and young children.
Okay, excellent.
Child
And
protector,
also, yes.
child protector and promoted the welfare of babies and young children.
Very good. The welfare of the babies and young children. Excellent. So, in the early setting, in the early years, the practitioner should know number of rules and responsibilities toward the babies and children. So for you all, what's your responsibilities? My responsibility as a child practitioner is reporting and dealing with disclosure, child protection and promoting the welfare of the babies, safeguarding and security, confidentiality, information sharing, and use of technology. This is all my responsibility in child care. And here when you come and so now you need to write a bit about some of them, which is first of all reporting and dealing with disclosure. So what is all about reporting? Do we know what's reporting? And to whom would you report the information? Yeah, sorry.
Reporting if you are aware that something has happened or you have concern about a child.
Okay, good.
And
So what do you do in this case?
responsibility and
yeah, our responsibility, what is it?
Is to report this to your settings,
yeah, to the nursery.
Yeah.
Very good. So you either report it to your manager, to your supervisor, but you have to report it. Excellent. So first responsibility is reporting. So if you were to answer this question, say for me as a child child practitioner, or as someone who work in child care, I always, if I have any concerns, or if I have, if I'm aware that something has happened, that the child being abused or neglected, my responsibility is always reported to my nursery, to my manager, to my supervisor. Make sure that the child is protected as much as so as soon as possible. I should report this information. Okay, so how about the dealing with the disclosure? What is it? What's disclosure? So yeah, do we know?
If another member
Yes, good.
of staff or child discloses something to you which if is of concern.
Okay, very good. So let us say one of your colleagues was talking to you and start talking about something wrong. You think this doesn't sound right. What he's telling me or she's telling me, that sounds like a child abuse or child neglect or anything could make you concerned. Would you report it or wouldn't you report it? Of course, you would have to report it. Okay?
Yeah.
You need to report it.
Yeah.
And then in the case that child reporting to you, like if the child is reporting to you, it's important you tell them that they will need to pass the information. That, let us say a child came to you and said, my mom been beating me, for example, or my father every day hitting me, or they locked me in the room and they didn't give me food for the whole day, or any kind of concerns. You should tell the child that you will pass the information, but promise them that they will that the child will be always safe and secure. Don't tell them that you wouldn't pass the information and just forget about it. You should pass the information. Okay? So dealing with disclosure, what does it mean? First of all, if one of your colleagues or someone you work with has told you something make you concerned, then this information should be reported as soon as possible to protect the child. Also, if the child has told you something which make you concerned about their safety or their health or their safeguarding, what do? You should always tell them that you will pass the information to your manager or to your supervisor or to the setting, but you will tell them as well that they will keep the child always safe and secure, because they might get scared. When you tell them, oh, I'm going to pass this information to my manager, he will be like, oh, I wish I didn't tell you, maybe, yeah? So because he's a baby, he's maybe 4 or 5 years old, and he just start realizing that something happened shouldn't be happening. Like they didn't feed him for the whole day. They locked him in the room, for example, or left him in the car in the hot weather. They went all day having fun and they just left the child in the car. So anything might be concerning to you, you should always tell the child that you will pass the information, but don't worry, you will always be safe and secure. Is this understood? So first of all,
Yes.
Yes.
to answer this question, when it says reporting and dealing with disclosure, you say, first of all, reporting that my responsibility, if something is concerning me or something doesn't sound right to the child, my responsibility is always to pass this information as soon as possible to my nursery, to my manager, or to my supervisor. And otherwise I will be responsible if something happened to the child. And also dealing with disclosure is mean if I hear any information from one of the people I work with, from my colleagues, about the child safety, I should report it immediately. And also if I have and information from the child themselves about which make me concerned about his safety, then I should tell the child that I'm going to pass the information. However, you will be always safe and protected. Do not worry. Number 2, this is to answer same question. But here talk about child protection and promoting the welfare of babies and young people. So what's your responsibilities in terms of child protection and promoting the welfare? So for you as a practitioner or child carer, you should always keep the children safe. Should always keep them well, healthy, protected from harm at all times. Okay?
Okay.
And all years practitioners, so all of us, when we work in the childcare, have a duty to talk to the children about keeping themselves safe and healthy, which includes having a positive relation and the importance of healthy diet, exercising, as well as e-safety when they use, if they use the computer at home, playing on their parents' computer. So you always have to give the children some information about keeping themselves safe and healthy. And also your responsibility is to ensure that the indoor and outdoor environments comply with the health and safety legislation. How you do that is by doing, remember what we should do? You remember when we said when we play outside, first thing we do is we go outside, make sure everything is safe. So we do
like
we do
assessment.
say again.
We do
Exactly.
assessment.
Very good. Well done. Well done. We do say risk assessment. So we go and make sure everything in the environment is safe for the child, outdoor and indoor. Always we have to do risk assessment. So for us now, if I was going to answer this paragraph where it says child protection and promoting of the welfare of babies and young children, I would talk about myself. I say, from me as a child carer, my responsibility is promoting the welfare of the children, make sure they are always safe and healthy and protected from any harm. So what I would do, I would always give the children information about how to keep themselves safe, healthy, include teaching them how to have a good relationship with others, how to have nutritious or healthy food, and in their diet, how to do exercises, how to make sure of the e-safety, which is if they have access to their parents' computer, and also as our responsibility is to ensure that indoor and outdoor is always safe for children by doing risk assessment. That's it. Well done. So until here, is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Now, if I go there and okay, so safeguarding and security. So is that part of this one? Promoting, yeah, so we need to as well talk about the safeguarding and security inside this bullet, which is in addition to, for us, is we need up to date, we stay up to date with the safeguarding procedure. So we know how to deal or handle certain situation. If we have any concerns, we always report them. And also we should aware of any emergency procedure. So if there is any emergency procedure regarding the safeguarding, we have to know it. Otherwise, if something happened, we wouldn't be able to act. So you should always be aware of any emergency procedure in your nursery. You should know all the guidance, the security of the children and stuff, because it's very important.
Yes.
Now, if we are going here to answer the confidentiality, do we know anything about the confidentiality?
Is information about children.
Yeah, so the information about children, when we say confidentiality, what does it mean? For us, as child carers, it means that our responsibility is to keep the information secure at all times, okay?
Yes.
In whatever we're doing, like if we store the information, if we file the information, if we have them on cabinets, if we have them in an IT system, it always should be kept secure, either by using keys to the cabinets, or maybe using password on the computer. All earlier setting should have confidentiality policy in which outline what we should do to keep the information safe. So what's confidentiality? Confidentiality means it's our responsibility as child carers to keep the information safe and secure at all times. It's either by to keep the children safe. It's either by using a cabinet and filing system, or maybe we use IT system. So if we use the cabinet, we should have proper locks or keys to lock these cupboards. And if we use an IT system, then we have to use proper passwords to protect the information. So any nursery should have policy about the confidentiality to keep the information safe and secure and keep the children safe and secure as well. Now, if we are talking about information sharing, so what is information sharing? Do we know anything about information sharing? Like for you, as a child carer, yeah,
is the information share about baby and children.
yeah. So for us as a child carers,
Yeah.
sometimes you need to share the information. You might share it with whom? Let me show you. So we share the information with parents. We share it with the nursery itself, because it's not only our information, it's information for my colleague. If I'm ill or if I'm not attending that day, then my colleague can step up and can do my job. Also for any childminder, and for school, for hospitals, for police, GP, for health visitors, for social workers. So this is, they are all, we share information with them. Okay?
Yes.
So maybe if, like, sometimes you say, you think, why would the school, why would I share information with the school? When the child will finish with the nursery, will move up to the school, then we share information with the school.
Yes.
Also with the childminder, that they might put the child 1 year in the nursery and then they would move him to a childminder. Then we share the information with the childminder. Maybe I have lots of information, where to keep it. I need to share it with the nursery. So I put it in a child file, or maybe put it on the system. I share with the hospital. If the child has got a problem, then they take him to the hospital, or with the police if they suddenly arrive because of child abuse reporting. Or I can share with the GP, because sometimes the nursery maybe would call a GP if the child really ill and can't even be taken to the hospital. Or maybe with the health visitor, like a nurse or any health visitor. Or maybe his social worker. So all these people I might share the information with. Okay?
Yes.
So because of our work, we might share information with all these people. Therefore, there should be a procedure to set how we share the information with all of them. Okay?
Okay.
So sharing the information and the general data protection regulation, early years practitioner may need to share the information. So as a early years practitioner may need to share the information. And this is to protect the child health, child life, and these are carers, earlier setting, childminder, school, hospital, police, GP, health visitors, or social worker. That's why every nursery should have procedure in place to highlight for the staff how to share information. Okay?
Okay.
Excellent. So now, if we answer the one after that, is use of technology. So do we know, when we say use of technology, what do you mean by that?
Like iPad or computer?
Very good. Excellent. We use iPad, we use computer. Why? Because we need to record the child information. We can't just leave the information, forget about them maybe tomorrow. Let us say I met with the child parents and I had lots and lots of information about the child, which is really helpful because you need to know what's the allergy they have, you need to know what makes them happier, how to deal with them. Sometimes if they become very naughty, how to handle that situation. You have lots of information from the parents. But if you don't record there, you will miss it. So use the information is very important so you can keep this information in the early setting. So how to use so therefore any nursery would have policy and procedure about how to use the technology to record the child information, such as computer, laptops,
iPads,
phones, camera system. Any of these is technology which we use to protect the children. You should know about how to promote the e-safety for the children. So how to promote e-safety? First of all, we need to talk to the children about it, about how to what they should be aware of when they access any laptop or any computer at home, if they use their parents, and also the use of screen devices to prevent children from accessing unsuitable material via the internet. Okay, so when you come to talk about use of technology, you say every nursery should have a procedure about how to use the technology and should be aware of any danger might happen to the children while they are using the laptop or the computer. Also, the technology means using phones, using cameras, to protect the children and the babies. So you should be always talking about the e-safety and how the children should protect themselves. So you need to talk to the children about how to protect themselves if they access online or if they access the mobile phone for their parents. And also you need to talk about how to use the screen devices to prevent children from accessing any harmful or unsuitable material on the internet. Okay, so for us, we're done with the question 1. So now explain what's the meaning by whistle blowing. Do we know anything about whistle blowing? Like, even not in a nursery, in a general life, have you heard about the terms of whistle blowing?
No.
is speaking and reporting. No?
Yeah, wrongdoing. Very good. So, for example, in my nursery, there are so many things I'm not satisfied with. You always sitting and not talking about it, but then one day you thought, you know what, and you reported it so many times to your manager, to your supervisor, all these wrongdoing, and nothing happened about it. So why you're really concerned about the child's safety because the children is your responsibility. You're working there in the nursery, and they're very vulnerable. They have no one but relying on us. So whistle blowing, if for me as a child carer, if I go, for example, to the newspaper and tell them that what's happening in my nursery is terrible, I reported it so many times, nothing happened about it, and now I'm really concerned about the child's life or child safety. So this is whistle blowing. Okay, so you highlight the wrongdoing. Anything happened by your colleagues or in the workplace. Okay, so what does it mean, whistleblowing? Whistleblowing is the term used for speaking up and reporting a suspected wrongdoing by colleagues in the workplace. So for me, whistleblowing is the term using for speaking up, for reporting any wrongdoing could happen in the workplace by your colleague, by your manager, by anyone. So examples for this, they are failing to comply with the safeguarding procedure. This could include, so if your nursery would not comply with the safeguarding policy, they're giving you here some example, like using a personal mobile phone to take photographs around babies or children in a setting or outside in a trip, which is really forbidden. You can't take picture. You can't use your mobile and take pictures of the children. It's prohibited. You can't do that. So if someone would do that and you report it to the to your supervisor, to your manager, and nothing happened about it, and they keep doing it, you can whistleblower and just go to someone higher and report it. Also, sharing information about children on social media. So you go to the social media on Facebook, you see for your nursery, and you see lots of pictures of the children and talking about their lives and what they did that day, and which is really bad, or their names, or this is all wrongdoing. Okay, and also, for example, another example, like regular being alone with the baby or the young person, like regularly there is one of your colleagues always taking one of the babies away from the group and sitting with him or her in a room alone. So that's a wrongdoing again. It should be at least two people when they are with the children. And also being over friendly with children in the settings. You see one of your colleagues is just acting weird and over friendly with one of the children, and the way she's talking to him or playing with him, it just makes you disgusted, and you think, I should report it. You report it and nothing happened, and then you should go and report it higher than the nursery, and this is whistleblowing. Okay, so all these are examples, which is good if you can write them in your response, in your answer sheet. It's really good as well. And also another, so we talked about whistleblowing. We said the first one is when the nursery is failing to comply with the safeguarding procedure. Second thing, you suspect that they are willingly harming, abusing, or bullying the children or young person, which is include speaking to the child or touching them inappropriately, meeting the child outside the setting, and also all this. Yeah, this is just examples. Also bullying the child, using emotional or control behavior towards the child. All this should be reported as well. So number 2 is suspected that they are willfully harming or abusing or bullying the child by, for example, speaking to the child or touching them inappropriately, meeting the child outside the nursery, which is not allowed, bullying the child, also emotional abuse or maybe controlling behavior towards the children. All this is not allowed as well. So when we talk about whistleblowing, so to answer this question, where it says, explain what is meant by the whistleblowing. So what I would say whistleblowing is explain reporting any suspect or wrongdoing could happen by your colleague, by colleagues, by your nursery, such as number one, failing to comply with the safeguarding policy and procedure. Number two is if you suspect any willful any harming or abusing or bullying for the children. So number one, and you talk about it fully as well. So number one, failing to comply with the safeguarding procedure, such as using personal mobile to take pictures for the children, sharing information about the children on social media, regularly being alone with one of the babies or the children, or also being over friendly with one of them particularly. Or some of them particularly. Number two is suspect that they are being harmed or being abused or bullied in the nursery, such as speaking to the child and touching them, or maybe meeting the child outside the nursery, and also bullying the child, maybe emotionally hurting him or controlling him.
Yes.
So is this understood?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. So now if I, this is done, now explain the responsibility of early years practitioner in relation to whistleblowing. So for you, as a practitioner, which is here, explain the responsibility of early years practitioner in relation to whistleblowing. So what's your responsibility regarding whistleblowing? So your responsibility is always protecting all the children and the babies from any harm, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This is your responsibility. So as an employee in the nursery, you should always protect the children from any harm. So if you notice that, if you notice one of the adults in the child care setting, or maybe your colleague, maybe your manager is doing something wrong, then or unsuitable, then you have to check first, report it second. Okay?
Okay.
This is done through the disclosure of barring service, which ensure that they do not have any criminal conviction which may affect their suitability to work with children. So first of all, the nursery should always have DBS for every child care practitioner. What does it mean? Is disclosure and barring service. Means that they check the background for every person who needs to work in the child care, to check if they have any criminal offense before that. Yeah?
Yeah.
So this is responsibility for the setting or for the nursery.
Yes.
So the DBS check takes place when staff are first employed by the setting. So before they got employed, they will ask for their DBS, or they will create DBS for them. And then they will be regularly renewed. It's very important. So if you suspect or find out that someone in your setting is failing to comply with safeguarding policy and procedure, or that they are harming, abusing, or for the children, then you are responsible for reporting this abuse or harm and remove it from remove any dangerous could happen to the children. So as you can see here, when it says explain what's the responsibility of early years practitioner in relating to whistleblowing. So if I was going to answer this question, I would say, first of all, the nursery always has a duty towards the children to make sure everyone is being employed is a right person to work in that environment. So they have to do DBS, which is disclosure of buying services. Thus to ensure they all do not have any criminal conviction before they being hired to the job. So this is before they get employed. They have to do it, and also they should regularly update this every. I'm not quite sure. I think every year, but they need to regularly update it. So if you suspect or find out that someone in your setting is failing to comply with this, with the safeguarding policy, or maybe bullying, harming, neglecting the children, then you should always to report it. It's our responsibility to keep the children safe, secure, and away from harm. So is this clear?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So now number 3.1, identify factors that may include, indicate that a baby or child is in danger or at risk of serious harm and abuse. So what could tell you that this child may be being abused or in a serious harm of abuse?
Sorry, teacher.
So if you read this question, identify factors that might indicate the baby or child is in danger or at risk of serious harm or abuse. So what's the science? How, let us say you have so many children you're taking care of in a nursery. How would you know that one of them is being abused? If they don't come and tell you. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, if I can see any marks on his body, so maybe someone hit him at home.
Well, what you the things, yes, very good. It's very good. So here the same question. Identify factors that may indicate that the child is being is in danger or at risk of serious harm or abuse. So first of all, as Hiba said, physical abuse, being beaten up at home, or so this is one type of abuse. Another type of abuse, we have sexual abuse, we have emotional abuse, we have neglect, we have female center mutilation, and also we have grooming, we have fabricated or indicated illness, and we have radicalization. So all these are types of abuse. So if you go back to the question, it says identify factors. So what's the factors could show you that this child is seriously being abused? So for example, in the physical abuse, how would you know that this child being abused? This happened when the child is being physical hurt or being injured. How you would know that this child being abused is excessive or unexplained bruises, cuts, marks on his face or his body. Behavior signs such as the child is they are unapproachable. You find them flinching, and like whenever you come and talk to them or you speak to them, they just jump, and also they will be withdrawn. They don't want to talk to others. They could be aggressive sometimes if you talk to them, and they don't want to talk to you. So these are the signs if the child is being physically abused. So first of all, Because to answer this question, it says identify factors may indicate that the child being abused. So first of all, you need to identify which abuse you're talking about, okay? And then you say how you notice that this child being abused in this type of abuse. So first of all, it's physical abuse. How we would know that this child being abused?
This happens when.
Yeah, if the child being
Yeah, this happens
physically
when a
harmed
child.
or injured.
Yeah, physically.
Yeah, so how would you know that the child being abused if he's physically being abused? That's easy. This is the easiest way to notice. Why? Because you see marks, you see bruises on the face or on the body, and also the behavior. You see the children changing behavior. They become more withdrawn, become more aggressive. Okay, suddenly this child changing behavior and also lots of marks on his face. Definitely it's a physical abuse. Okay,
Okay.
so to answer this question, it says identify factors that may indicate what that the body or the baby or child in danger or at risk of serious harm or abuse. So first of all, you put down all the type of abuse, then you say what's the signs to know that to notice if this type of abuse is being taken place. So first of all, it's physical abuse, and you can notice this physical abuse on the child if you can see any cuts, any bruises on his face or body, also his behavior changing, and suddenly he doesn't want to, he become jumpy when you talk to him, or he's withdrawn, or increasingly he's aggressive and doesn't want to be friendly with people. Number two is sexual abuse. What you notice on the child if that type of abuse taking place. This is when a child is forced to be part of sexual activities, include any physical or non-physical contact, and you see the child. The signs is the child is withdrawn and has anxiety, or also sexualized behavior or more knowledge than for a child in his age, so he's got lots of information. And also the language or unexplained sexual inappropriate comments. Suddenly you hear the child talking about. This is all signs of the sexual abuse. So are we clear up to here?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when you answer this question, as we said, you need to, first of all, identify every single type of abuse, and then why you notice if this abuse is taking place. So we talked about the physical abuse. I know you can see marks or bruises or cuts on the skin of the child. Also the behavior, he becomes jumpy, he is withdrawn, increasingly aggressive. And also for the sexual abuse, this happens if the child is being forced to take part on any sexual activities, whether it's physical or non-physical. And this, how you notice it? You notice it if the child is withdrawn and also has got anxiety suddenly, and then also if the child is sexualized behavior, has got more knowledge than a baby or a child in his age. Also, if his language and lots of sexual words or inappropriate comments he might come up with, this is all means that this child is being sexually abused. Also, emotional abuse. How would you notice that this child is being emotionally abused? So what is emotional abuse? Is usually effect when you talk to the person, to the child in a way that his affects his emotional development. Happened when a person is regularly make this child feel worthless, feels that he's unloved. So all this would affect the child life in the future. So how do we know that the child is being emotionally abused? A delay in emotional or other areas of the development. So delay of his emotional development, also the speech delay, self-harming. You see them cutting their they do any self-harm, maybe by toys or by anything, and also low self-esteem. Their self-esteem is really low. Emotional reaction, they got lots of emotional reaction, suddenly become emotional and become crying so much over very silly things. Also difficulty in making friends. They have very difficult time to make friends. This is all emotional abuse, because of emotional abuse. So what's the emotional abuse? Emotional abuse is when we harm the child emotional development, we talk to them in a way, make them feel worthless and unloved and important. So how we notice this type of emotion of abuse? We notice it in number one, delay in the emotional development, also speech delay, self-harming, low self-esteem, emotional reaction, sudden over very silly things, or also difficulty making friends. Okay.
Okay.
How about neglect? How would you notice neglect? What is it, neglect? So for neglect is mean lack of care. So if the children suffer from neglect, they might come with their clothes be ripped, or their face is not clean, or their hair not tidy up, or they don't even have socks, or something not right, because all the mothers will be taking care of the children to the maximum. So if there is any neglect, you can notice it. So neglect is there is a lack of care. So how you notice it? It may include insufficient food. Maybe they don't even send food with them, or very little food with the child, or inadequate clothing. Maybe they put him in summer clothing while it's really cold, so that's neglect. Also, their living spaces, maybe they put 4 of the kids in the same very small room. That's neglect as well. Lack of medical care. So all this type of neglect. So how would you notice it? You will notice it by poor hygiene, inadequate or dirty clothing, hunger. The child is always hungry. They don't send food with him, so they neglecting him. Untreated health problems. They see the child has been having this cough forever, and they don't even keep him at house to take care of him. That's neglect. Frequent illness or time away from setting. They have lots of holidays every day. The child is not there because the mother can't be bothered to take him to the nursery. She woke up late and she doesn't have time to take him to the nursery. Just leave him at home and with her. So that's neglect. So what is neglect and how will you notice it? Neglect is lack of care for the children. Include insufficient food, inadequate clothing for the season, inadequate living spaces, lack of medical care. We can notice it by poor hygiene, inadequate or dirty clothing, hunger, untreated health problem, or frequent illness, or being away from the nursery.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because
Yes.
we have to talk about all the type of abuse is very important, and then we say how we notice it to answer this question fully. Okay, what's FGM? Have you ever heard about this term at all?
Yes.
So this is female genital mutilacation. What is it all about? Is that the potential or total removal of the external female genital for non-medical reason. So you see this happening a lot in some of the countries, not all the countries. Like sometimes in some of the African countries, they do it.
Yeah.
I think it's in Egypt they do it because it's illegal to do it in another countries, but some of the countries they still do it. So what's the reason that people they do that? What is it? So FGM is removal of the external female genital for non-medical reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And as you can see here, some of the African, Middle Eastern countries, Asia, they still do it, even though some of the in the rest of the world is illegal.
Yeah.
So this is another type of abuse.
Yeah, my country a lot of years ago did.
They did it before.
Yeah,
And
but
is it
now
illegal now?
no. Yeah.
Excellent. It's good because it's become illegal.
Yes.
And so how would you notice that the child being taken to on holiday for long periods? So suddenly you see the child is being taken for a very long holiday unexpectedly because, say again?
It is illegal for female or for male illegal or no?
Yeah, for male they do it. It's normal. In the country, in some countries, in some because it's according to religion that the people should do it.
Yes.
Like in Islam or in Judaism, they do it.
Yeah.
But for female, the religion didn't say anything. So why they are doing it? So that's why it stands of abuse.
Yeah.
Okay, so now how would you notice this type of abuse? You notice it that the child is being taken away for holiday for long period of time. Also, would you reluctance to participate in any physical activities, also withdrawn or quiet or clingy behavior. So all this. So you see the girl is always been taken. Sometimes it's been taken for very long holiday. Also to go back to her country. Also, we can see that this girl doesn't want to take part in any physical activities after the holiday, and you find her withdrawn and doesn't want to have any communication with the other children. So what this type of abuse? This type of abuse is FGM, and it is all about potential or partial or total removal of the external female genital for non-medical reason. If it is for medical reason, it's fine. For non-medical reason, it's illegal. Yeah. And this is still happening. It originally was in some communities in Africa, in the Middle East, or in Asia, and now it's lots of countries is illegal. And how you notice it? You notice it that you see this girl has been taken on holiday to go back to her country for a long period of time. Also, when she comes back, she doesn't want to take part of any physical activities. And also you find her withdrawn and doesn't want to have communication with the rest of the children. There is another type of abuse, which is grooming. What does it mean by grooming?
This can take place both online or in place person and
Yeah.
violence adults building up the trust of a child with the internation of above thing.
Okay, so yes, good, thank you. So grooming is all about, it's taking place online, okay? So what's happening that the person involved in a grooming is an adult. So this adult will build a trust relationship with the child and do any for an intentional of abuse, make him trust this adult a lot and maybe send him even money and make him feel special. Grooming may involve someone who is unknown to the child or their family and can continue for a long period of time. Look out for their children. So how we can check this on the children? We can check it if the child is quiet or withdrawn, does not want to be collected by any particular adult, even if they are authorized to go with the children, with the adult. So now, what does it mean, grooming? Grooming, it all takes place online, that an adult will make a connection with the particular child, will start and all for the intention of sexually abusing them. And they maybe send them money, also maybe send them gifts, make them feel special. So how you can notice it? You can notice it if the child is quiet, doesn't like to participate, doesn't like to have any interaction with the adults, also no interaction with any adult. Also, when anyone come to collect him from the nursery, he wouldn't be happy even if it is an authorized person to collect him, such as his parents. Okay, so now what about fabrication and illnesses? What's fabricated illnesses? It's type of another abuse. What is it when someone fabricate illness?
It's not real illness.
Yes.
It's not.
Very good.
I think so.
So, can you think?
The child is not really ill, and their parents doesn't bring them to school.
Very good.
To nursery. I mean.
Yes. So if like let us say the parents, whether it's a dad or a mother, they may say that the children is showing any symptoms of illnesses, just because they don't want to take him to the school that day because they can't be bothered. So they just ring the school and say that this child has got chicken pox and we're not going to bring him for the whole week or something like this, just because they don't bother taking him to the school. And this is type of child abuse. They may also try to bring on symptoms of illnesses on the child. So what would you look for in this type of abuse? That the child being away from the setting regularly, so they don't call one time and say that he's got illness and then you think this is the child abuse. No, if they do it regularly, more than one time throughout the year, They are every day or every month. This child has got illnesses, and you think that doesn't happen. Is that even real? Something is not real there. And also, if their parents or the carer being
Particularly,
yes, keen to discuss the child's illness. So if they keep discussing the child illnesses at all time, that you think this is not really, it's a pretending to be ill, for the child to be ill. So it's not real. It's just because they don't bother taking the child to the school. So this type of abuse is fabricated illnesses. What's fabricated illnesses? That the adults or the parents of the child pretend that the child is ill, so they don't take him to the nursery for quite a long time. And how would you notice it? That the child been away from the school for a long time. Also, the parent or the carer, they always they are keen on discussing the child illnesses. Always, particularly, they are keen on discussing his illnesses. Does mean this is a fabricated illnesses abuse. So now, just the last one of the type of abuse, which is radicalization. This form of abuse involves individual or group being persecuted and to share. They share external political view, social or religious view with the child. It's like a brainwash for the child, although it's unlikely to happen for children. But always, because we work with children, we should be always aware of this. Why? Because the child has got sibling, and these siblings, they might, or his parents might be radicalized. So this is for you as a child carer. You might not. It might not be very something as a core of your activities. Why? Because they are children. You wouldn't think that they are being radicalized. But if you work in a school later on, maybe if you develop your work and become working with children who's 5 years old, they are just going to school. They are more understand what is around them. Maybe 3 to 5 years old. Maybe they be radicalized. So how you notice it? You notice it from what they talk with you about. Yeah.
yeah.
Because what's being radicalization? It's being radicalized. It's mean that their parents would give them a lot of extremist ideas or political view or social and religious aspirations, which is really dangerous for the child at this age to have all this information in his head. How you notice it is when you talk to the child, is always talking about political and religious matters. So now let's just go back just to recap about what we talk about. Identify factors that may indicate that the baby or child in a risk or serious harm or abuse. So how would you notice that? You say there are so many types of abuse, such as physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, FGM, grooming, fabricated illnesses, radicalization. And how do you notice it? For example, number one, physical abuse. It happens when the child being hurt or injured, how you notice it. You see lots of cuts, bruises, marks on his body, on his face, behavior that the child is jumpy, doesn't want, whenever you approach him, he's withdrawn, he's more aggressive. And number two is the sexual abuse, when the child is taking part in the sexual activities, which is physical or non-physical. And how you notice it, that the child is withdrawn, has got anxiety, he's got more sexual behavior, or he's got more knowledge for his age. Also the language and the way he explains sexual activities or inappropriate comments you would find the child coming up with. And also the emotional abuse, which mean this happens when the child being affected or emotion by his parents, who regularly make him feel worthless, make him feel unloved, and frightened and scared. This was how that happened. Is how you notice on the child. You see that he's very delayed in his emotional development. Also his speech also very delayed. He can do self-harming, low self-esteem, emotional reaction, and also difficult in making friends. Another type of abuse and how you notice it, which is neglect. Neglect is mean lack of the care for the child. And here you see the child have got either insufficient food, inadequate clothing for the season, living inappropriately in a small space, no medical care. This is all neglect. And how you notice it? You notice the poor hygiene, inadequate or dirty clothing, hunger, untreated health problems, or frequent illnesses, or time away from the nursery. Also, we have FMG, which is removing partial or total of the external female genital for non-medical reason. And it is mainly happening in Africa, Middle East, and Asia. And however, in the rest of the world, it is illegal. And how you can notice it, you notice it that the child being taken away on holiday for a long time. Also, when she comes back, she doesn't want to participate in the physical activities, also withdrawn and quiet behavior. How about the grooming? Grooming is mean when the child have got an adult who's connecting with him online, and for the intention of sexual abuse. And you see that this adult is sending this child lots of gifts, lots of money, making him feel good or special. This is all a grooming. And how you notice that this child is withdrawn, also does not want to be collected by a particular adult, or even if they are authorized to go with this child. So now, and also there is fabricated illness abuse. What does it mean? If the parents would pretend that this child has been ill to take him away from the hospital for a long time, and especially if that happens regularly. And how you notice this type of abuse, that the child is being taken away from the nursery regularly. Second thing, that the child, parents always very keen to discuss the illness and get more details. Well, you don't need it. You just say the illness, the child is ill and sorry he can't attend. When you see the child parents is giving you lots and lots of information about how he felt and when he gone and what he did, and you think, is that pretending that the child is ill? Because when you're saying the truth, you don't need to give lots and lots of details. And the final type of abuse is radicalization, when the child parents keep brainwashing the child, giving him lots of information about political extreme views and also social and religious aspirations. This may happen over time, and you will notice it if the child has got lots of to talk about in regard of religion or political views. You think then will get you thinking if this child's being radicalized. Is this understood? So this is how you answer the question number 3.1. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Now 3.2, explain the procedure to be followed to protect babies and young children, including domestic abuse. So what would you do if a child told you there is a domestic abuse at home? What's the procedure to follow to protect these children and babies from domestic abuse? So you see here 3.2, the question is here as well. Explain the procedure to be followed to protect babies and young children, including from domestic, physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. So first of all is the domestic abuse. So how we protect the children from the domestic abuse? Do we know?
Yes.
Let me see here. Here they put it all in one go. So for you, you need to understand how you protect the children if there is any domestic abuse, and then physical abuse separate, and and emotional abuse and sexual abuse and neglect all separate. So how would you protect the children? So if you have any concerns that a baby or child in your care is a victim of any type of abuse, it is important that you act on it by speaking to your designated safeguarding leader. So you have in every nursery, even in our college, anywhere, any educational institution, by law, they have to have safeguarding lead, a person who you report any safeguarding issues to them, they likely to pass this information to social services, so they can act on this information. You pass it to them, so the children who witness or have any violence or extreme distress in a member of their families on a regular basis can be affected. And this is another form of abuse. The procedure is that you should follow may depend on the type of abuse, but will include those listed in the heading above. So all the type of abuse, well, the ones we've spoken about, you need to make sure you protect the child from that abuse. So if you have any concerns, you need to report it immediately. To whom? To the safeguarding lead in your nursery, and pass this information to the who will pass this information to the social services. So this particular person who's safeguarding lead will pass it to the social services. So we have always to make sure to protect the children. So how we protect the children from abuse?
We need to report it.
Yeah, we need to report it. That's very good. As we said, to the safeguarding lead in our organization. So for example, because here it says, where is it? It says domestic abuse. So what does mean by domestic abuse?
Is it abuse from one of member of the family?
Yes, exactly. They either one of the members of the family, they either abuse each other or they abuse the child in terms of physical abuse, sexual abuse, any domestic inside the house. They have, maybe they beat the child up. So this is type of abuse. So when they domestic abuse occur, then we have to report it immediately to the safeguarding person and a lead in our organization who will report it to the social services. Very good. Immediately. And also, what type of another physical abuse? That's when they beat the child. So domestic abuse, when you see his family is always fighting. Okay. So if the child, his family is always fighting, that he might get affected by this because he will be emotionally drained, and they might even beat him over that, or maybe they start shouting at him. Maybe they lock him in the cupboard or in a room. So any type of domestic abuse, because they are fighting, they show this on the child themselves. So this is type of dangerous abuse, and we should report it immediately to the safeguarding lead in our organization. How about physical abuse? Physical abuse, you notice it because you see the marks on the child baby, on the child face. You can see bruises, you can see, and how you deal with it, you straight away, again, you need to report it to the child protection, to the child safeguarded lead in your organization. And also any other ways to protect the children from any abuse. So the procedure is, so in the early years practitioner, we report the concerns or any incident regard to our safeguarding lead. As we said, it's very important, including record anything which may have observed. Also, we need to pass the date. In case that the child minder, they will do this themselves if they are concerned about the child's safety. If the child is thought to be in immediate danger, it may be decided to refer straight to social services. So for us, because we work in an organization as child carers, so we report it to the safeguarding leads. However, if we work as a child minder, because we don't have a manager, we don't have a team to work with, so how we do this, we report it to the social services directly or to the police. Okay?
Okay.
So also the designated safeguarding lead, he will record the incident, will record the date, will discuss it with the child parents. He will not go straight away to pass it to the social service. He needs to discuss it with the child parents. Unless if he thinks that the child parents are what causing this risk to the child, then he should report it straight away to the social services. And also, the designated safeguarding lead may speak to the local authority before indicate whether to refer it to the social service. So first of all, he will go and speak to the parents, unless if they are the cause of harm to the child. Then he will go and speak to the to the local authority before he referred to the social service. Why? Because when he referred to the social service as the last method, for them, they would straight away come and collect the child and take it away from the parents. So he needs to make sure that he's not doing something wrong. Otherwise, before he's talking to the child parents, he can't just go and report it, just in case that he's imagining things. And once refers to the social service, have to carry out assessment. So the social service, they will do assessment within a set of time scale, 1 day, and from 1 day to 7 days, or could take the assessment 35 days. Following the assessment, the case may be referred to other services, may be decided on no further action needed. Sometimes the social services, maybe they think, after they discuss everything with the child parents, maybe they decided, well, that was just a concerns over nothing, the child is safe, so they keep him, or they would refer to another organization, and maybe they take the child away from his parents. Okay, so to answer this question, I would just go back and talk a little bit more about what is it all about, like here, for example, domestic abuse. I would say when the parents of the child fighting a lot, maybe shouting at him, maybe locking him in the room, maybe on his own. So this is all domestic abuse, or maybe they are fighting like a mother and the father, they keep fighting as well, which make him scared or emotionally hurt. So all this is domestic abuse. And when the child tell you about, you can either pass it to the safeguarding lead or maybe speak to the parents. And then when you pass it to the safeguarding leads, as we said, the safeguarding leads will speak to the will speak to the parents first, unless if they are the cause of concern, and also the designated person will record all these concerns and incidents and with times, and will pass it to the go and discuss it with the local authority. And then if they all decided to go to the social services, they might go to the social services. The social services would take they would do investigation and assessment, and then their response will be within 1 day, initial assessment 7 days, and then core assessment within 35 days. Following these assessments, they will decide whether to take the child away or there is no cause of concerns. This is, so you talk about each type of abuse, and then you say that you refer it to the social. So here, maybe in the first one, explain a little bit more, say what you're going to do, which is, what is the domestic abuse? I would say the domestic abuse is when the child or the parents fighting a lot, make him scared, make him hurt emotionally. Maybe they keep as well, maybe locking him in the room, maybe shouting at him. So all this is a domestic abuse, and how you deal with it. The procedure is for you to report it to the safeguarding lead. And the safeguarding lead will first talk to the parents and get their opinion about these concerns, unless if they are the cause of concern. And also the designated person after that will go and speak to the local authority. Then after that, they will speak to the social services. Social services will come and do a 1 day response, then 7 day take them to do initial assessment, and then core assessment for 35 days. After that, they might decide to keep the child and nothing happened, or might take him away, or they can refer to another organization. So I would say all this in here under the domestic abuse, and then whenever I reach, for example, the physical abuse, because the same procedure, I would say the physical abuse is mean when the child will be hurt physically, like bruises, like being beaten. And what I can do is report it to the safeguarding lead, and here as well, emotional abuse is when he emotionally hurt, and I can refer him to the safeguarding lead, and here as well was sexually, because you already discussed in details here what the safeguarding lead would do. So for you here, you just say the procedure is for me is just to report it to the safeguarding lead. Emotional abuse is when he's sexual abuses mean when he's sexually been abused by adults. And if I see any signs of sexual abuse, I straight away report it to the safeguarding lead. Neglect, if he's been neglected. His, just talk about it a little bit further, like you see his clothing, his poor hygiene, and being neglected, illness not being treated, or so what to do is just to report it to the safeguarding lead in your organization. So is this understood how to answer this question?
Yes.
Yeah, because they are all same procedure. It's all about, for me, I report it to the safeguarding lead. My safeguarding lead will go and speak to the parents, unless if they are the cause of concern. Then the safeguarding lead would go to the local authority. After that, the safeguarding lead would go and discuss it with the social services. The social services will come and will do 1 day response. They will do initial assessment within 7 days, and within 35 days we'll do a core response, a core assessment, and they will decide after that whether to take him away or will keep him in the with his parents. So all this you can talk about it for the first one. Then following same, you just say here, when I read this, what is physical abuse, and what to do is calling the passing the information to the lead, to the safeguarding lead in my organization to do the same procedure mentioned above, because you already talked about it here in the domestic, or you can copy and paste it here as well. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, excellent. So now if I go to the other question, it says explain the benefit of working with other in the context of safeguarding, protection, and welfare of children. So what's the benefit? Why do you work with others? So now if I go to 3.3 is here. Explain the benefit of working with others in the context of safeguarding, protection, and welfare of children. So first of all, do you understand the question? What's the benefit? Why do you work with other people when you do the safeguarding? What's the benefit of you working with other people to make sure that child is safe and secure? And who are these others that you work with?
Clear plans in place, greater communication, sharing information.
Yes, it's very important to share information when there is any cause of abuse or neglect to any child. It's very important. Thank you. And who do we share the information with? First of all, we have local authority and social services, and we have health professionals, we have education professionals. So local authority or social services in the context of safeguarding social service may be called, they call them to the organization so they can work with us and they will lead the assessment for the child need. It's very important. So first of all, we work with the local authority. Second thing, we work with health professionals like doctors, nurse, if we suspect any kind of abuse. Also, we work with the education professionals from schools, colleges, if we need to work with them, for any other educational professionals to discuss ways to be familiar with how we can respond to this type of behavior. So also we can get information from the government document, which we just discussed above, working together to safeguarding children 2018, set out the importance of sharing information and the steps to be taken that assess how can we which can be made in the earliest possible stage, and professionals can respond to concerns about the children's welfare. It should also be reminded that the child must remain at the center of the decision in which to be made, and their views or wishes to be respected at all times. So what are the benefits of working together? Where it says here, what's the benefit of working together? So as we said, we work with the government, we work with the health professionals, very good, and we work with the education professionals. Excellent, very good.
School.
And
Yes.
very good. And what's the benefit of working with them all? First of all, for greater protection for the child.
Yeah, the child.
Yes.
Yeah, so we provide more protection to the child. If we work with the GP, for example, we know that these signs are of abuse, then we can protect him. Yeah.
Yes.
Or if we work with the local authority with the social services, they will give us lots of advice about this child case. If we work with the education department or universities, or they will give us lots of information which we don't have about how to deal with certain situations. So first of all, we provide a better protection to the child. Then we have more transparency. Transparency is transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say transparency, it's like the glass is transparent, you see through. So transparency is making life more clearer for us and for them. And also greater communication. We will have a better communication if we work together. And then also we have better plans to protect the child from abuse. So here, little bit more explanation about each one of them. First of all, a greater protection for the child. This means that if the agencies work together to safeguard the child, the quicker that the action will be taken place. So let us say the nursery will be working on their own. The action will be very slow. While if I work with another organization, will give us more information, then the action will take place more faster. And if more agencies work together and have regular meeting and communication about action which is being taken, it is less likely that the people will make assumption about the the others are what the others are doing in terms of support. So number one is for greater protection for the child. So if the nursery would work with more than one organization to support the child, will get better information, and also they will be more aware about what other organization will do for the child, and it's less likely that the people will make assumptions on the case. And also it provides greater transparency. If agencies share information about what's happening, it will be clear and easier for both. So if we share information, will be easier for the nursery and easier for the other organization. Why? Because we will get lots of information about how to support us, and also they will get lots of information about the child health and safety. And also for greater communication and sharing information, it's very important to share information with the professionals, because each party will have a type of, like, they will have certain knowledge and understanding about their role, and if they share, they will be working more effectively. And also both working together will provide a clearer plan. If the agency work together, they will need to have clear plans about what's happening for the child, and this clear plan will be monitored regularly, which is very good for the child. So now if I want to answer this question, it says explain the benefit of working with with others in context of safeguarding, protection and welfare of the child. For me, I would say as a nursery, we work, my nursery work with many organizations in terms of child protection, such as the local authority, health professionals, and educational professionals. And the benefit of working with all these organizations is, first of all, for greater protection for the child, as each one of these organization, if they work together, will have a regular meeting, better communication, and then each one of them would know what's happening with the case, with the child case. And also it will help for greater transparency. So we will be sharing the information, so each one of the organization will be clear about the situation. And also another benefit of sharing information is greater communication. So if we share information with other professionals, we will have a better communication, a better understanding for each one of us job in this case particularly. And also we will have a clearer plan. So if I have a better communication with the social services, we both have a clear plan, and then we can follow it step by step and know and monitor it closely. Is this understood?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So now for this question is, why are we done? Now, the question after that, explain support and advice available to the child's parents and carers. So what type of support and advice available to the child's carer? You see here, 3.4, explain support and advice available to child parents or carer and early years practitioner. So first of all, the child, if it's been abused, what type of information we provide for his parents and carer? So if there is any abuse is being suspected, parents and carer will still have the right to be informed. So if the child's been abused, you don't know if the people who've been abusing him, maybe an uncle or an aunt or a grandparent. So you need always to inform the child parents, and it's their right to be informed about what's happening, so they can also contribute their own views about what's happening. And also they will tell us about their concerns. So parents and carer should have access and support and advice from different agencies, and should be given guidance from their local safeguarding children based. And this should be a good starting point for information and guidance about how to deal with this type of situations. However, if the child has been suffered harm while their care, these rights will be removed. So if the child was in their care and suffered from this harm, let us say it's by the dad or by the mother, then these rights will be removed. You don't need to go and inform them. You just go and pass the information to some other agency or other person. You don't need to go and discuss it with them. So, to answer this question where it says explain support and advice available to the child, number one is parents and carers. As we said, in the case of a child being abused or suspected to be abused, then it's the right for the parents to know what's happening, to get all the information shared with them, and also for them to contribute, give us more information about certain situation and why this has happened. Parents and carers should have access to support and advice from different organizations, especially from their local safeguarding children board. And this is the first point of getting information about the abuse. However, if the child parents were the abusers, or the child being abused while he's under their care, then these rights will be removed.
Yes.
Okay, and then there is part two of the question is early as a practitioner. So for you, was the support advice available to you as a child practitioner, from where you can get information about the safeguarding? So first place you take information from on the safeguarding should be your nursery policies and procedures. It's very important. So the safeguarding policy would be the first thing to check. And also from the designated safeguarding lead. So you go and discuss it with the safeguarding lead. Your local safeguarding children board, also you can go and check. Offer support, professional advice, and also you can go to online and check about another organization like NSPCC website. You can go and check all their the document they have about how to protect the children from harm and abuse. And also you can go and check the government document, which we've spoken about already. Okay, so for you as a practitioner, you can have lots of information and advice about safeguarding. As a first point, you can get it from the safeguarding policy in your organization. Also, you can have the information from the designated safeguarding lead in your organization. You can have it from the from your local safeguarding children board, and also you can have lots of information from the local authority. You can have lots of information from the professionals like GP, like nurse, and also you can get the information from online, from training as well. So you can get, and also from the government publication, you can get lots of information and advice. Now, explain why children safeguarding practice reviews are required. So why do we need practice reviews about safeguarding? Which question is that? It's 3.5, so let us go to 3.5. It's here. So why do we need serious cases reviews?
SCR takes place when a child or young person has been significantly.
Okay, very good. So serious cases review, which is SCR, how we deal with that? It takes place when a child or young person has been significantly injured or maybe died, okay, due to abuse or neglect. Like you heard about lots of cases like baby P, or there's so many children being abused by their parents and died or killed or neglected for a long time, and they suffered from hunger and died, or lots of cases. So why do we need reviews to these cases?
To protect the child.
We need to review it. We need to investigate it. We need this is all need to take place to get lots of information, so we can do improvement on our behavior in the future. Like, for example, if someone reported an abuse sign and the police didn't take care of it, and then the child died, why do we do reviews to this case? We do it because in the near future we don't need this to happen. Okay, so we can do improvement to our behavior. The finding of the review will be summarized into a final report and will be shared between the agencies, will be followed, so that it is lesson for everyone to learn, not to for this to take place in the future. Yeah, so it's just that. So when it says explain why serious cases reviews are required, you answer that. You say serious case reviews, which is SCR, takes place if the child or young person is being harmed significantly, which caused him to be injured or died, then from abuse or neglect, then these cases should be reviewed regularly, and this is very required very much, because like in the past we had so many of these cases. These cases need to we need to have lessons from them. So these cases, if something happened, we need to investigate it properly for our improvement, for our improving behavior. And also after we do the investigation, we need to collect all the findings, and then we summarize it in a final report and we share between the agencies, so all the agencies will have a clear idea about how to handle same situation if it occurs again in the future. This is all to protect the children's life and health. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Now, this is the last one. Oh, okay. So this is the last one. As you can see, this one will have this unit. We will have no reflective account, which is really good for you because many people are still not very clear about doing reflective account. So this is just answering the question directly. So the last question, which is outline the policies and procedure for safeguarding babies and young children in early years setting. So what are the policy and procedure for early years setting? So for you, we just spoken about this in another where it says section 1.2. Let us go back. We've spoken about this. Do you remember what are the policies and procedure to protect children? Where is it? Okay, here you go. If you read the outline policies and procedure for safeguarding babies and young children in early year setting. So we have so many policies and procedure to protect the children. Number one is safeguarding policy. Number two is acceptable use policy for social media. Number three is whistleblowing policy. Number four is equal opportunity policy and confidentiality policy, data protection policy, information sharing policy, and health and safety policy. So you need to put them all again for you. They repeat the question. Why? Because they want you to think more about the policies, about what policies every nursery would have. Yes, so as soon as you join any work in an organization, you need to make sure you read these policies, understand it. So for us to answer this question, I outline policies, procedure for safeguarding babies and young children. So first of all, we have all the policies which we just discussed, and also we will say that in my organization, just talk about yourself as well, say in my organization, we keep these policies and procedures online so the parents would have access to it, and also us as a carers will have regular access to it. They always give us a training to teach us how to handle and how to understand the policy and procedure and to learn how to handle them. So is this understood?
Yes.
Excellent. So we finished with this chapter, which is unit 4. Any question? Do you want me to repeat anything? Please let me know so we can do it now. Let me go up. Okay, guys, so do you understand the policy and procedure about safeguarding? Do you understand any of the questions we have discussed? Can you think you are able to do your coursework now? I'm going to stop recording, send this now, hopefully, if I can. I'm going to stop recording.